Like, so I heard one guy who was like, "Is that the Holy Hand grenade?" And I hear Weston going, "Yes, it is, sir." And
Right, it's a brother Antioch.
And so we went around, basically just shopped a little bit, looked around, carrying our armor. And as we just like the first half an hour of me carrying the sword, I'm like, dang, this is going to be awful. But I'm sure Weston was feeling it too, because he was wearing a whole suit. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Deus Vult podcast. This is episode 6, I believe. We are going to talk about the Renaissance Fair that we all went to, and also about a little bit about the Passover and our experience, and what we learned or what our favorite parts were about the Passover. All right, and with that, let's go ahead and start with prayer. All right. Holy Father, thank you so much that we can all be here and just worship you, as well as bring your name known to others just around the world, and through our podcast. And just thank you for this great group of guys, and that we can all be friends together, and everything has worked out so well so far. And just thank you for everything that you've done for us, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. So, to start off, I think we're going to do the Passover first, and then we'll get into Renaissance Fair stuff. I think that'll work. So, is Wade at his computer yet? Yeah. I need to
Maybe not.
Okay. So, oh, he's gone. Oh, and he's back.
He's gone.
Maybe his microphone isn't working or something.
Hey, you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There we go.
Yeah. Oh, that was weird, man. Discord wasn't hooked.
Yeah, it's all right. Sometimes it can be buggy like that. It's all good.
All right, cool. Well, I joined you guys just to realize that I gotta go poop now, so I'll be back in just a minute.
It's all good. All right. So I guess we could talk a little bit about Passover. Last podcast we talked about like what Passover is, and we kind of explained a story, and we kind of went in depth with it a little bit. But basically, we rented out this train depot, which is like this really old, actually really cool as well. This really old train building that used to run trains by it. Does it still run trains through it?
I mean, the tracks are still in use, but the depot itself doesn't actually interact with them.
Right. Okay. And so basically, it's a good little area to set up like a cool event. And so that's what we did. We had 76 people there, I think. I recognized some people I did not. And it was really good. So I was the sound guy. So I brought my big old speakers and hooked it up to my laptop and played some awesome Jewish music. And then and then also at the end, we played the super awesome techno music as well, the techno version of it, and of one of these songs, and it goes
Hava,
hard.
Nagila Hava.
Yeah, that song. It's so good. And people were cleaning and listening to that song, and it was great. It was all good. But yeah, basically we rented out this giant area. We got there early, set up tables, plates, and everything. And last podcast, if you want to go ahead and check it out, that'd be great. We talk about how everything is set up in a certain way to where it represents Christ and also like God and everything, and there's a lot of symbolism with it. It's really cool. But after that, I guess we can go into, I think what we were going to really talk about is just what people's favorite parts were from learning. So yeah. All right. Do you want to start, Wade? Like what your favorite part was from Passover, or
Sure. I was gonna ask some questions, find out just from each individual what part of the Passover really jumped out at the most, or what did they did not know before the Passover that they learned.
all right,
But
perfect.
for me, the funnest part was probably in the middle section when we stopped to eat dinner, and then like the tables were going up and getting food, and while people were waiting for their turn, a bunch of the kids came running up and on my shofars, which I need to grab a shofar to show you guys what it looks like.
Yes,
But
the giant horn.
yeah, so I have two of them. I actually have three, but the second one is like this little tiny one, and it is very very hard to get a tone out of it. And I told the kids, hey, if you can get a tone out of this, get a chalk bar. So I had this little disinfectant rag, and I just kept um, like wiping it down for each kid to try. And then finally, um, one of the kids was able to blow it, and it sounded horrible, but it was an actual tone. I was like, "Oh my gosh, you did it!" They all did. They all
That's
just kept
awesome.
trying, and so they're having fun with it. And then I gave this girl a chocolate bar, but that part was really fun. And then there was one girl who had been to Passover Seder since she was like almost a baby. And this was
wow.
her last year. She's 12 going on 13. This was her last year to actually do it.
Uh,
And she's always wanted to find the afikoman. So for those who don't know, the afikoman represents Christ when he goes into the grave. And it's a piece of matzah that we hide. And then one of the children is supposed to find it and then bring it to the head of the table and redeem it. We redeem it back from her or him. And we give him $5 when we do that. Well, and that's just what I give them. We give normally it's just some sort of a gift,
right.
and it's basically it's God buying us back from our slavery to sin. That's what it
Yeah.
represents.
It's really cool. Yeah.
So she found it, and she was like, "I finally found it after all these years. I was the guy. I'm the one who got it, not guy, but gal." But yeah. So
That's awesome.
looks
I
like
didn't know
Tristan
that.
will be.
Because she also found that thing fast, by the way. Like as soon as it started, she saw it like behind the flag and like immediately ran up and grabbed it. And I was like, "Dang, that was fast."
I know all the other kids were like, "Oh," because
Yeah.
somebody else even.
Yeah.
I think when they did the kid parade where they walked around, they do the flags and the streamers and stuff. I think as people walked by, it blew out, and she saw it, and she's like, "Yeah, you're going," because she'd been going for so many years. She recognized what it was.
Right.
She knew what it was. So at any rate, that was cool. Let me go grab a
Yes.
shofar, guys, and I'll be right back.
All right.
And
Sweet.
I'll show you guys. I'll actually blow it and blow out everybody's eardrums while they're listening.
Awesome. Perfect. How's it going, Seth? We just started, so you're not late to anything.
Yeah, I'm
So you're good.
doing just fine. How are y'all doing?
Doing good. I almost forgot that today was the podcast. Weston
Nice.
had to well, it was like 10:45 or something, and then Weston called me. He's like, "Dude, wake up." He's like, "It's a podcast," and I was like, well, I opened it. I'm like, oh, I was like, "Oh, hey, Weston, what do you want?" He's like, "Dude, it's a podcast. Get on." I'm like, "Oh yeah," completely forgot. I have so many things that I've been going with, especially with job applications. I'm juggling a lot of stuff, so
Yeah.
so there's a lot on my mind. So it just slipped past me, but yeah, today I was like, "Oh shoot, you're right." So I had to jump out of bed and get ready.
Yeah.
Quickest 5-minute setup ever.
Yes. Yes. Well, I also my green screen was down and everything. I also had to like pick it up and set it all up real quick. Anyways, yeah, take it away, Wade.
All right. So here's the big one. This is a kudu horn. This was not bad. So when you blow a shofar, it's easier to almost blow it out of the corner of your mouth. And the way you get your tone is by vibrating your lips as you blow the air through. So it's kind of a thing. So
The microphone's
That's the kudu
Not
horn.
allowing it.
What's so funny? Okay, so that's hilarious. So what happened, Wade? was it
What?
was absolutely silent, because what happens is it was so loud that Discord just decided to not pick up the noise, because that's what Discord does if you yell and stuff. So maybe if you use the small one, it might pick it up. We could hear like the beat.
Oh, worse. Let me do this.
Okay.
Did that come through?
Yes.
Yeah,
it
it
did.
came through.
It did. It did.
I mixed them up.
Nope. Nope.
Like just the beginning's going through.
All you're hearing is the worst. I will go into the bathroom and try to do it and see if that will
Okay,
actually...
that might work. That might work. That's an idea. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
See if we can
Wow, I can't do it.
Oh, you heard it a little bit.
Little squeak there.
A little squeak went through. It's all right. It's all right. Oh man, I think we heard it good enough for the most part. That's hilarious.
Did you get that one?
Yes.
Nope. Well,
part of it.
bit.
We got part of it. Yeah.
Right. So
it's all good. It's all good. We have enough.
there's little. This one's even harder.
Okay. Let's see.
Anything?
No.
No.
It just
Not
looked
at
like you
all.
blew in and nothing came out. That's awesome.
It's a dog horn.
Yeah, exactly.
Did that one go?
No.
Nope.
Oh man,
Discord's
Discord's
go out the hall.
Discord's just screwing him over.
You could just change the settings.
Yeah, that's okay.
No, nothing, Dad. I can hear you from downstairs.
He's gonna have to go like all the way upstairs.
Did you get that one?
I
No.
could
No,
hear you from
it's-
upstairs.
It's not gonna pick you up.
It's all
Dad.
good. It's all good. We got some bits of it. It just looks like he's blowing, but nothing's coming out. It's hilarious. I love it. Oh, there you go. That came out. That came
Oh, that
out.
worked.
Oh, that one did.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. If you covered it a little bit, yeah. That's
Very
hilarious.
weird one.
Oh, the problem is too, because these are organic.
Yeah.
The smell.
Yes. The smell.
The dog hates it.
Oh, the dog. Yeah, you blow the dog's just like, and it just leaves.
Oh
She
man.
just walked out.
Oh
She's like,
man.
oh, I've had enough. So, anyway, I blow a shofar. If for anyone who's joining us, if you want to hear what a shofar sounds like, just type in shofar, and it spells like it sounds. Look up on the internet, and you'll see people blowing a shofar
Yeah.
much better than I can.
Yes, it sounds. You could hear it pretty clearly. It's like a trumpet, but I don't know. It's not as brass sounding. I guess that's like the only way I can think of it. It's very Viking, very medieval, very
Jewish.
very Jewish. Yes, it's very old.
It is a call. So when we do it at the Passover, it's a call to worship.
Mm.
Excuse me, and it's to get everybody's attention. So
Right.
it's fun. Well, hey, let's hear from some other people. Like, what are some things that stood out to you in this year's Passover? What's something that you learned or you heard that has kind of stuck with you that you haven't thought of before,
Okay.
or you didn't know about?
I can go ahead and go. So what
Sure.
stuck out? So I'm just happy that all the sound went well and I didn't mess up. But also that my favorite part about the Passover would have to be, it would probably have to be about how it's so difficult to point something out. I know my favorite thing to eat, which is the which is like the apple crisp and the horseradish together, which represents
Harosa.
yeah,
Oh,
the
harosas.
the harosas, and then it was like it represents what God's goodness, right? With with bad or something like that. I completely
The harosis represents the brick and mortar that the
Right.
Jews had to build these treasure cities of the pharaohs. And they, even though in the midst of labor, life can still be sweet. I mean, you can
right.
still, there's
That's what it was.
family and trust in God and things like that are still with you even during the hard times.
Yeah.
And then the horseradish is about how bitter life is, and how in life bitterness is mixed with good things.
Yeah. I say that I really like that, and that part always stands out to me, not just because of the taste of it, but also because of how true it is with how life works, and how how sin and how life works is so difficult and bitter to live with, and it's very difficult to live with because sin is just plain annoying, flat out annoying. And but God is sweet and he's gracious, and it's just so good, and that's kind of like what points it out to me all the time. That one is like, after every Passover, that is the part that always stands out most to me. And it's because of that symbolism, for the most part, and it's really, really beautiful. It's awesome. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Want to go?
Well,
Want to go this way to Nathan?
Sure.
I don't believe it's the same way on my screen, but
Zane's down here, Nathan's over here, Seth's even farther over there. Then we have Bob, and then we have.
Yeah, true.
I think my favorite part was, well, I mean the food, obviously, but that's just me. But after the food, I like the little intricacies with all the table stuff, like how the bread is wrapped, and how that relates to God, how they would wrap like a swaddling or a lamb,
Yeah.
and how that relates to that, and just all the other little intricacies that there were. I can't remember, but I remember that it was all very, very focused on how God was prepared as he was going towards being crucified.
Yeah, like throughout his whole life, it shows how from the very beginning he was a sacrifice, and it's really eye-opening when you see that. It's really cool. Yeah. All right. We can go to Seth.
yeah.
I saw him smiling. He was like, go to me, baby.
No. But this was my very first Passover, so I had no idea what to expect.
Right.
Growing up in a Southern Baptist church, you're taught the basics. You're taught the lamb, unleavened bread, blood upon the door, above and beside, and that represents Jesus, and God passed over the Israelites.
Mm-hmm.
But you're taught nothing about the bitter herbs, about the apple stuff. I'm sorry, I forget.
Yeah, it's okay. I do too.
Porosis, right?
Yes.
All right, cool.
Yeah, nailed it.
Taught nothing about that. You're taught nothing about the 4 cups, 5 cups, potentially 6, or was
Yes.
it 7 that you were relating to?
It was 6.
Alluding to.
So there's 4 cups that go along with it, and then you have the 5th cup, which is the cup of Elijah, and that's that was John the Baptist announcing Jesus is coming. And then the 6th cup, which is not part of it, but it's, how do I put this?
Alluded to?
Yeah. So when Jesus is in the garden, and then, dude, you're sideways.
Right.
His phone doesn't want to flip.
There we go.
You know
There
what?
we
That'll
go.
work. It'll work. It's all good. That's hilarious.
Sorry, I'm easily squirrel.
Yeah, it's okay.
So the 6th cup is when Jesus, it's the cup of man. It's the cup of judgment that we should have taken upon ourselves, or that we should have to go through ourselves because of our sin. And it's where Jesus is in the garden and he says, "Dear Lord, if possible, take this cup from me, but not my will, but your will be done." And the cup is, I don't know what you'd call it. It's cup of judgment, cup of intercession, sacrifice. I really don't you would call it, but it's cup of judgment that we should have taken. We should be going to hell for our sins. Instead, Jesus took our place.
Right.
So he took he died for us. So anyway, That's not something that I just came up with. This was actually, we were watching a Jewish he's an entertainer, but he's also a teacher. His name's Marty Getz, and we were sitting there, Tina and I, a couple years ago, and watching his online. I think it might have been during 2020, but it was he was the one who was talking about it. He's like, there's a sixth cup, but then he went to say,
Cool.
and possibly, he said, if there's a seventh cup, the cup of, because 7 is the number of completion.
Right.
He says it'll be at the wedding feast of the Lamb, because Jesus said, "I will not drink of the fruit of the vine." Until he comes into his kingdom. I'm trying to remember the Bible verse. If one of you guys want to look it up real quick, that'd be awesome. But he's not going to drink wine again
Shoot, I don't
until
have my phone on me.
until he goes. And if you think about it, even on the cross, they offered him a stick with wine vinegar, and they held up to him, but he refused to drink it.
Right.
I will not drink of this fruit of the vine from now until the day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. Matthew 26:29. So that was Tina again. She's like, here you go.
Knows every verse in the Bible from memory.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she knew how to look it up. Yeah, I am not great. I'll be the first one to admit I'm not the greatest at knowing. Oh yes, that's Matthew. There's,
Same.
I mean,
I just know the verse in my head and it just comes to me, right? I don't know it.
Yeah.
I don't know this verse at this chapter or even like what chapter of the Bible it is or what book.
I'm really good at paraphrasing.
Yes. Exactly.
But
yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. What else, Seth? Like what was your favorite part that stood out to you? You also talked about the symbolism, but what, like, if you can nail down a point in the thing that really stuck out to you, what would it be?
My first favorite thing was the flag song. I forget what it was called, but when all the ladies got up and were dancing to that song about what was it about? I just don't remember, but just God's mercy is
Zion.
Yes.
Zion.
It's the slow song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Zion.
Aaron Schust sings that song. There's a point where it says, "We pray for the peace, look to the east where the sun rises sudden and fierce. Every prophet and priest, every king in the city will look on the one they have pierced." And if you notice, when they did that, the women took the flags and stabbed.
Yeah, so cool.
They will look on the one they have pierced. I mean, the guy sings it. He almost sings it with mourning. It's a great song. So it's by Aaron Schust.
And then probably my favorite thing, even though I was horrible at it, was the final dance at the end of the Passover when we're all just hanging out, trying to go in a circle and dancing. I was not doing it right at all. My shoes were untied. I was a mess. But I was like, yeah, kicking my legs. Woo-hoo!
That's part of the fun of it. Yeah, it's a Jewish line dance. It's called the Hora.
Yeah,
and it's you do it to Hava Nagila a lot. Hey man, as we close out today, do you have that Hava Nagila song handy?
Yeah, I can pull it up.
Yeah, pull that up. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And
here, let me grab my phone real quick.
The Lord keeps me around Kansas for the next few years, I will definitely come back, no question. Like, I'll definitely do it again. And we actually have a Messianic Jewish, I don't know what they call it, but church in Tennessee, where I'm from. They actually bought our gym from us, and they used it as their place of worship. So I don't know why we never went over there or did anything else with them other than give them our building, like, because Jewish, like, it just all comes together beautifully, and you don't know because you focus on, like, the New Testament and what Jesus did, and yes, that was important, but also why the prophecies, why everything said it had to be this way is also important, and I was taught none of that.
I think that goes back to the Catholic Church and trying to do away with Judaism because they had declared like the Jews to be the enemies of Christ for crucifying him or some such nonsense like that.
Yeah.
But
There's a lot.
you're taught all the Old Testament stories like David and Goliath and Noah and the Ark,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
No,
that
but I
good
mean,
stuff.
I think because the first Christians were Jews and they had these traditions. I think the reason why they were lost to us was because of the Catholic Church doing away
Hmm.
with anything
Could
remotely
be.
Jewish because they viewed it as evil, I guess, and
Yeah.
then tried to create their own new version of Christianity,
Yeah.
which is what we kind of built off of.
Very well could be. I mean, yeah. So yeah, I was in the same boat as you, Seth, not too long ago. When I was, because this is my third one, I think. Because I did one when I was super young with you guys.
Oh, in our house.
Yeah, in your house, and then that was cool, but I didn't really totally get it and understand all the symbolism as a kid. I just like, oh, this is fun. I get like the basics, but then last year, I believe, that's when everything hit me, and I was like, oh wow, this is really deep, and there's multiple layers to this, and it's awesome. And that's what like really hit me. And then this year, I'm just like, to hear it again is really cool because there's some things like I forgot, here and there, and it kind of just refreshed my memory. It was like, wow, sometimes you forget how great, and amazing the symbolism and how God is and how everything perfectly is, right? So, yeah.
I do want to make this little disclaimer. You got to be careful with Messianic Judaism because some of it is very cultish. They there's actually two of them here in town. One's good, one is not so good. When you get to the point where they're like, oh, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You're making God unhappy. The fact that you eat pork. Oh, that's horrible. God hates you for that. If they start saying stuff like that, then it's like, okay, remember, there's a thing called grace, which came with Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If they're trying to follow all the old Jewish laws and then at the same time give lip service to Yeshua, Jesus, Yeshua in Hebrew,
Right.
um, then at that point they're cultish.
Yeah.
You the person who is, if a person follows the old law and is guilty at one point, has broken everything. And if you don't recognize the grace of Jesus Christ, that he is the one who provides our salvation, through faith. This is a gift from God, not of ourselves. And I'm misquoting that verse. Seth, you should know this one. It is by faith you have been saved, and this not of ourselves.
It is a gift of God, lest any man should boast, or something like that.
Right. So if
Hmm.
you're sitting there
Okay.
and you're trying to do everything right, you're trying to do the diet, you're trying to make sure you're at all the feasts, you're trying to make sure you fast at the appropriate times, then you're going to start boasting, well, I'm following the law and I'm eating all the right things and I'm doing this. Not good. So you got to be careful with Messianic Judaism because some of them will really try to put you into this legalistic box. Legalism gets very, 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 like you can't say God. You have to say Yahweh. If you say anything other than Yahweh, then you're using his name in vain. You're breaking the first commandment. Or is it the second? Anyway,
Huh.
first is thou shalt have no other God before me.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, that's like you're being a Pharisee. Be careful.
Yep.
End of disclaimer.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So, Zane, you want to go next?
Sure. So I've been doing this for more years than I know. So it's not brand new to me. I'm fairly used to it, but I don't know. I guess one of my favorite things is being able to show it to new people and like get to see their first reaction to it. It's
Yeah.
very cool to see because it's something that so many people they don't know about anymore.
Mhm.
Like you guys are saying, it's not really taught the symbolism and why it's important. And a lot of people don't realize that Christ or God said this was to be a lasting ordinance, and in His millennial reign, the feasts are going to be reinstated. So I think it's cool to be able to know what these things are, what they're about, and what their meaning is, because it points to His returning, coming back. It's not just something that they did back in the day. This is still relevant to us, because not
Right.
only did it show Christ was coming back then for our sins, He's going to come again to end it all too.
Right.
Plus, I like the dinner. A lot of the food's pretty good.
True. A lot of the
Can
food
I
is good.
can I just add something, Zane?
What's that?
So you and I are pretty much on the same page here when it comes to Passovers, but my favorite part about the Passover personally is the fact that it says it was God, not an angel, it was God, not a seraph, it was God, not, anything else. It was God. Because for some reason, I've heard this a lot in Christian culture, is that they're like, it was an angel of death. It was not. It was God himself that actually came down during Passover and took, the life of the firstborn.
Oh, yeah.
There is actually two different portions or two different places, I want to say, in Exodus. One of them, it talks about the destroyer, and the other one, it talks about God. But it's really, it's God. I'm trying to think where that's at. I will look at it and I'll find it.
I feel like it's portrayed in movies as well that have done that. It talks about how it's the angel of death or whatever. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you watch the
that's
Moses
not
movie,
yeah, exactly. It's not that entirely true.
which it's not bad because of that detail. That's wrong, but it's just something that should be corrected, in my opinion.
I agree.
Okay, here it is. So for those of you who are it is with so it's not an arguable point. This is Exodus chapter 12. I'm going to start at verse 27. I can find verse 27. Okay, fine. I'll start at verse 26. And when your children say to you, what does this rite mean? You shall say, it is a Passover sacrifice to the Lord, who passed over the houses of the sons of Israel in Egypt when he smote the Egyptians, but spared our homes. And the
Mm,
people bowed low and worshiped. Remember the 4 questions? The youngest child comes up and asks 4 questions. Why do we only eat matzah this night? Why do we eat only bitter herbs instead of all other types of vegetables? But,
right.
answer the questions. Then the sons of Israel went and did so, just as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. They put the blood. Now it came about at midnight that the Lord struck all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, who sat on his throne, to the firstborn of the captive who is in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle.
Mm,
So it was the Lord. Pharaoh rose in the night, and he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was no home where there was not someone dead.
mm. Wow.
So that was God's direct response, because Pharaoh is supposedly the son of Ra, the firstborn of Ra. If you remember, like the plague of darkness, he was showing his power over Ra. This time, he's showing his power directly over Pharaoh.
Right.
That's pretty by the death of the firstborn, because Pharaoh is supposed to be the firstborn of Ra.
Yeah.
Now it makes you think that this Pharaoh, he couldn't have been the firstborn, or God exempted him just to make an example, because he ended up dying later.
Yeah.
Guys, I want to go to a historical document here, or a historical thing. So at the end of the Old Kingdom, you had a Pharaoh he reigned 90 years. and they actually have some records of it. It is the longest recorded reign of any human being on Earth.
Yes.
He reigned 90 years. So he would have had to have started when he was a child. After that, he was followed by another pharaoh who only reigned for 4 years, and they record that he died in the Sea of Suf, which is the Sea of Reeds, the
Yeah.
Red Sea. So,
And they kept good records back then, by the
right.
way.
And at the end of his reign,
very studious.
the Old Kingdom, not as good as the Romans, but pretty good.
True.
At the end of that guy's reign, Egypt collapsed. That was the end of the Old Kingdom. So they always show the Exodus at some time during the Middle Kingdom, when like Ramses was king. Well, Ramses was the city that they were building. Actually, they say it was near Ramses, but that was in the north. I think the city they're actually building was the old Memphis. The old city of Memphis, which was it was considered the white city because all the cities were whitewashed. It was one of the wonders of the ancient world, like ancient world, not one of the 7 wonders, but it was considered one of the most beautiful cities. And it was made of mud bricks. And they've excavated some of it, and they've found mud bricks with straw in it as a binding agent. I did some research on this, and I completely disagree with where the non-Christian archaeologists and historians place the Exodus, because one, they want to disprove the Bible. So,
I mean, yeah.
you're going to put the Exodus at a point in history when it really couldn't happen. And you're going to say, oh, it wasn't an Exodus of all these massive amounts of people, 600,000 men. It's going to be maybe 6,000 at the most, just a few slaves left. But if you think about it, there's a thing called the Papyrus of Apuwer. All right. What a name, Apuwer. Sounds like, yeah. I'm not going to say what it sounds like. Anyway, you can look it up on the internet. The Papyrus of Apuwer was written at a later date during the Middle Kingdom, and it was referring to what happened at the end of the Old Kingdom, saying, hey, look what we're doing. We're sliding into this despicable state of immorality. And if we're not careful, the same thing could happen to us like what happened to the ancients several hundred years ago. And he says, and he records that there was that all the cattle died, that there was no light, that there was darkness. I know he directly talks about 4 of the plagues.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that it was even in their memory 400 years later.
That's
so
crazy.
I believe the Exodus was the catalyst to the ending of the Old Kingdom, and everything that happened.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Sorry, I took over
Also,
again.
how are the pyramids are going to be made if you don't have 600,000 slaves? I mean, come on.
Well, the pyramids are actually later. They'd be building the treasure cities like Goshen.
Oh.
Goshen is where they live. The treasure cities, I want to say,
Gotcha.
Memphis, Pithom, and they talk about Ramses also. Those are all those cities were in the north of Egypt, just south of the land of Goshen. They would have been within a day's travel of Goshen.
Okay.
But
So,
I took a history of lost civilization, talks about they had professional architects and stuff.
Huh. So this was before the pyramids were made.
The pyramids were later.
I see a lot that the Jewish slaves were the people who made the pyramids, or et cetera, but gotcha. So that happened later with some other slaves. Okay. Gotcha. We could go to Tristan or Ben. Let's go. We can just go to Tristan since he's here. His webcam. Or with his microphone.
Where'd my webcam go?
It said goodbye. Oh, there we go. It's back.
So for me, this was my first time going to Passover.
Yeah, like Seth.
Yeah, it was really neat. I've never had an experience like that, so I've been going to church for my whole life. And the way I explained it to Mr. Wheeler was it felt to me like someone who doesn't go to church going to church for the first time. It was a religious experience that I
Right.
never felt before. It was just different.
That is
But
that is like perfect. That's exactly how I saw it too.
it's so cool. It was just such a strong religious experience. Like you could tell that people were there just to worship God and just to show their faith in him.
Mhm.
To me, my favorite part was just being there and being able to see it. Like I didn't know what was happening a lot of the time. Like
Yeah.
what was going to happen. It was just like seeing everything that they did and seeing everything that's was being said was just so cool to me, and just I wanted to take the booklet home and be able to read it just again so I could just remember more of it.
Yeah.
And it was just I just loved it. It was great. It was
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's really awesome. Sweet. Yeah, it's definitely a wow moment when you're like, "Oh wow, there is it goes way deeper than I ever thought it could." So cool.
If you guys want, we have some older Haggadahs we can give. We can give to a couple of you if you want to read through them. They're just minor changes in the wording.
I'd like that, yeah.
All right, Ben. You want to share what your favorite part of it, the Passover?
I thought the matzah and everything like represented different stuff was pretty interesting. It was the first time I went, so it's pretty unfamiliar to me, but I thought it was pretty cool.
I'm going to make a disclaimer here. Actually, I just looked it up. All the big pyramids were actually built during the Old Kingdom.
Oh, okay.
So
it could have, yeah. So, all right.
could have been during the time period when the Jews were there.
Yeah, it could have. All right, there you go.
Cool to see had like a bunch of different stuff like in it also. Like there was a like blessing for children and stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Else. That's
So
interesting.
your
Yeah,
dad
like,
built what's called a chuppah, which signifies God's covering. It's like a little tent.
oh yeah, we
And-
could talk about this. This is really cool.
Yeah. So the chuppah, it's like a tent-like structure, and Jews get married under it. There's blessings under it, and so Ben's dad actually built one, and they brought it forward and they set it down, and we called all the kids underneath it, and we sing a song over them, which is actually from Fiddler on the Roof. Is where the song comes from, but we incorporate it to where it's both boys and girls instead of just daughters, because he just had daughters. And then his father, there was one side was 7 feet long, 7 signifying God's perfect number, the Lord, and the other two sides were 6 feet long, and it signified the union of God and man coming together. And then there was 3 stripes on it also, which, if I remember right, were signified the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And a lot of the fathers came up and stood with their children underneath the chuppah. And we sang the blessing.
Right. That's so cool. Yeah, like the chuppah has a lot of symbolism to it, because the way he made it was 7, like the poles were what, 7 feet?
Oh, poles were 7 foot tall too.
Yeah, the poles were 7 foot, and then there were 2 poles that were 6 foot that represented man, with God, and then
That was the sides. That was the sides.
Yeah, that was the sides, and then you had the 3 stripes which represented the 3 parts of God: the Holy Spirit, Jesus, and God, the Father. And it's really cool. And there's like a lot of symbolism that went into it, and it was awesome. And then, yeah, I think that's where we're gonna end about talking about the Passover.
Unless anyone else has something to add.
Yeah. Unless anyone else wants to add something. No? All right. Sounds good. Okay, so we're also going to talk about the Renaissance Fair that we went to. Um, let's see. How are we gonna start this? So, the Renaissance Fair. If you don't know what a Renaissance Fair, it is medieval. It is a fair where people come together, wearing costumes, and there's like jousting, and there's a whole bunch of different things going on, and it's basically a lot of role playing is what we experienced, and there's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and basically it's a really fun time. But so how I'm gonna talk about how the day started with me. So I went there and it was a lot more packed than I thought, first of all, and it was a nice day, but it was hot. um I feel bad for Weston underneath all the gear he wore. And basically we just I parked, I waited, and then we met up in one of the parking lots somewhere, and we all put all of our armor on, because we all went as crusaders essentially. And we just wore all of our crusader gear and armor and our swords.
Might I
And
interject something?
yes, go for it, Weston.
So one of the things about armor that you realize is that when you have a full suit, you can't get in yourself. You need help. Otherwise, you're gonna do it wrong, or you just simply
True.
can't get into this plated mess, which is insane because
Yeah.
it feels like you're stuck in a can, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's why they have squires, right?
Yes, Zane was my squire that day.
I
I'm
was
joking.
the leader, I thought.
I'm joking. You were the spokesperson, but you helped me get in the armor, so you were squire for about approximately 5 minutes.
That's funny. But yeah, like
Zane, put on your helmet, Zane.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
can see
My
what's
helmet?
like.
oh yeah, you can actually see it. It's actually behind Zane. His suit of armor that he brought. So also as we were all getting ready, I noticed, man, this sword is I brought a sword that was about 20 pounds. Awesome.
You impressed the prince.
Yes. But it was so I had my great sword, which was 20 pounds. I'm like, yeah, I can hold 20 pounds for like 3 or 4 hours. I'm like, it's not too bad. It'll be a good workout. Then I'm like, just from carrying it from where I parked to where we were getting ready, I was like, oh man, this thing's going to be heavy all day long. And so, and also my helmet was also pretty heavy, but wasn't too bad. I have a big neck, so I had the strength there to have that. But, yeah. So we were all getting ready in our armor. As we were walking up, and already as we were walking by everyone, because there's a line for people who have tickets to go in and to buy their ticket there, and then there's a very, 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 very short line for people who actually bought them online. And so when we went through the short line, some of us, I think Nate isn't here and Blake isn't here, but they went through, they had to stand in line. Also Ben here, he also had to stand in line to get his ticket, but it wasn't too bad. The line actually moved quite fast. But we went to so we went in, and as we were passing this long line of people, already people were stopping us to take pictures with us. Little kids were like, that's a big sword, that's awesome. And it was really fun. And I underestimated the amount of people that wanted pictures with us. How many
Yeah, that
pictures?
kind of took me off guard as well.
Yeah, that's a good picture. There we go. Yes, that's me in the
There's
blue.
Hank.
Yes, and then Ben is in the green.
Bouncing everywhere.
Yes, it's awesome. It's so good. Then the holy hand grenade, yeah, in the little box. That was another thing. We had the holy hand grenade with everyone, and it was great.
You know, it's funny though.
There's a lot of people like, oh my gosh, I've got the holy hand grenade.
Yeah.
That's so good.
And then Weston, like, so I heard one guy who was like, "Is that the Holy Hand grenade?" And I hear Weston going, "Yes, it is, sir." And it's just great.
It's a brother Antioch.
Yes, from Brother Antioch.
Antioch's a city.
Is it? Oh well. I thought it was Antioch from brother
No,
Antioch.
The Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch, that's where the relic came from.
Yeah, but
Oh,
you know
okay,
what?
never
It
mind.
still works. It still works. It's all right.
Yes.
But basically, we went in, and man, we must have all day long. We must have taken like what? I don't know. How many pictures did we take? Just as sitting in line, we probably got probably like 5 or 6 pictures taken.
I don't. Well, and there were people who would just walk up in your face and be like, "I want to take your picture," and we'd be like, "Okay." And then there was guys who were like trying to like sneak our picture and act like they weren't looking and like
Yeah,
taking the picture
it's like we
from
were
the side.
Yeah, it's like we were famous or
That
something.
kind of creeped me out a little bit. I was like, if you want a picture, you can just ask.
Yeah, you
don't
can
have
just
to-
ask. Yeah, it's just like, it's because of a lot of, you feel like you fit right in with the crowd, especially if you're an introvert, because everyone there just is awkward, and it's the best.
Well,
Is that
I'll
why
tell
I
you
got voted to speak for us?
Huh?
what.
You
Yeah.
did a great job with that. I actually have that on video.
Yes. Okay, so we'll get to that. But first, basically how we entered it is we entered through with everyone. We took some pictures with other people as well as like with the whole group as the Wade
Yep,
showed that picture.
stuff.
Yes. And so we went around, basically just shopped a little bit, looked around, carrying our armor. And as we just like the first half an hour of me carrying the sword, I'm like, dang, this is going to be awful. But I'm sure Weston was feeling it too, because he was wearing a whole suit of armor.
I was forced to have proper posture the entire day.
Yes.
Like, there's no slumping in that thing.
Yes, there's the sword. Wade is the picture man. He's got all of it. Yeah, so Weston's right next to me in that picture, and underneath that is a giant thing of armor, and it is just heavy. So.
Yeah. My shoulders were killing me so badly that this man, he just touched my shoulders, and I was like, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that.
yes. But basically we I think the first main thing that happened to us was we went to go see the old guy who actually has like a heritage of like crusaders and stuff who got knighted.
He was an actual knight of the Teutonic Knight.
Yeah, there he is. He's an actual knight of the Teutonic Knights, and he's a very much so an older gentleman, but it was really cool. He had a lot of facts to share. Do any of you guys remember exactly?
Yes, I remember that the armor was so much heavier. If you I thought my helmet was the heaviest gauge steel that we had. But then you go and check out this guy's set, and you put on his helmet, and it's like, okay, this is gonna snap my neck if I had it on for this long.
Right. So what they would also do is that he was running a tent with some people to where if you wanted to try on a full suit of armor, you could go up there and put it on and take a picture. So that was pretty cool if you really wanted to do that. But yeah, their helmet was like an extra 20 pounds compared to our helmet. Extra 30 to 20 pounds. It's crazy.
It could take a hit.
Yes, and also those guys, like knights back in the day, man, they were built different. They were huge. So,
Well, I mean, when you spend your entire life being active and working out every day,
yeah, now
you get
have
to be a big dude.
Now you have folks like me sitting behind a camera and playing video games all day now.
Yeah, I mean, we was playing about how heavy that armor was, but honestly, they could mount a horse in full armor. I mean, there was times they had to fight for hours in a battle wearing that stuff.
Oh yeah,
So
totally.
They were peak
Days
physical
even,
condition.
to be honest. Yeah.
Those are different times.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then after that, do you remember where we went after that, Zane?
Well, okay, so we showed up immediately. People taking our pictures.
Right.
So we shopped around for a little bit. I think we went and saw the last bit of the first joust.
Yes,
at
we
that point.
did. I think we saw that at the very beginning. So at the very end of the first joust, it was pretty cool, but we couldn't really tell what was going on. Oh, also the log pull. So it was also Scottish events that they were having. And so the Scottish people, they had these it's a sport that they have to test one's strength. And it's this big, giant, long wooden pole beam. And you have to basically, so you have to see how long you can chuck it. And
Hammer toss.
yeah, and how far you can chuck it. And there was this woman, was it a woman or a dude? I'm pretty sure it was a woman.
That was a woman you were looking
yes,
at.
It was a yes. Well, sometimes it's tough to tell. Basically, it was this woman who was carrying this giant pole, and she just chucked that thing and actually went really far. And props to her. But it was like it was really crazy to see all of it.
Yes, very impressive.
It felt like you entered a different world, and it was good. 'Cause the last time I went to the Renaissance Fair was when I was a wee little lad. I was not very old. But yeah, I think the last time I went was with you guys, and
yes,
that
and you
was,
could say that it's grown big. It's gotten a lot bigger than what it was.
Yeah, because when
before.
I went with you guys, I remember it being pretty small, but now it's actually it's grown. It's definitely
Which
grown.
I can't wait to see the next time they host it, and I hope to see the rest of the Deus Vult group there. It's going to be great, guys.
True. But yeah, after that, so I think after we talked with that guy, we basically walked around the whole area just looking at different things. Like and at like the very back of the fair, there was like a tent, which had like a lot of swords and stuff there.
Yes.
And we're checking that out. But I think that was a little bit later though. But before that, we went through all the tents, essentially just looking around for like leather working, and so I can put my sword on my back or something like that, because that thing was heavy. But I didn't find we did find some things, but man, they were pricey because it was like real leather, handmade stuff.
Their sword frogs were like $70.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That's
crazy.
outrageous.
Yeah. But it was pretty good. So we basically walked around a little bit, and then when we were coming back to the entrance, there was a big parade that was happening. One of the parades that was happening, and it was with the king and queen and the prince. And what's the prince's wife called? I always get this wrong.
Princess or a lady.
Yeah, princess or a lady. Okay. Because I think of prince, but I don't know what the right terminology is. Because you hear princess, but I feel like that sometimes is like a movie thing. So
I just go by the Dark
lady.
Souls thing, maiden.
Maiden. It's a maiden.
Maiden. It's his maiden.
So you have the prince and his maiden.
Could be her highness or something like that. Hey,
Yeah.
you guys want to hear some statistics about knights here real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Just give you an idea. Okay, so this is a modern day knight, all right? And they think that the older knights were even tougher because they were shorter and stockier. But this is a 33-year-old guy who's been basically since his teenage years training and doing knight reenactments in Europe. All right. So he took a bunch of physiological tests, and he found at 33 years old he had a body fat percentage of 7.72, which
Dang.
was actually better than 8 to 10% for professional footballers, which would be professional soccer players over there.
That's crazy.
It puts him in the top 15 to 20% of the I guess global whatever.
Yeah,
Strength wise, he was stronger than a professional American footballer.
Dang.
His core stability proved better than many professional swimmers, and his alignment and balance were comparable with leading acrobats. This is a guy who's just been doing reenactments. He does them, literally every weekend puts on the full armor and everything like that in Europe for shows. He says these results were very impressive.
Dang.
Anyway,
that's mad. That's awesome.
And they think that ancient knights who literally would train every day.
Yeah.
Especially when they were, going on like medieval crusades, stuff like that for battle. These guys were tough. I mean, the fact that he's stronger than many professional American football players. And those guys can like bench press what, 350 pounds?
Yeah, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
So if you're a knight, you were like the top physical, and this guy was 33 years old.
Right. Yeah, you do not mess with the knights at all.
Okay.
Okay. So, that's a really cool. I didn't know that. That's a cool fact. So, also, after we basically, so we were at this parade that was going through, at the beginning of the day. It was about an hour in us being there, something like that, maybe 40 minutes. And there was the prince, because there was like a lot of people lined up on the side watching the parade go through everything, and the prince was like shouting, and he's like, "Templars!" and he like yelled at us because he thought we were so cool. And then he kept on walking, and then we were like, "Oh, that was kind of cool." We didn't really think too much of it. And then later in the day, we were actually summoned by the king and queen and the prince, and his maiden, and we were all it was all great because we all met them firsthand, because they all thought.
Well, hold on, we're not there yet. You got to talk about the drunk guy.
Oh yeah, that's true. So in between this time period, before we meet them, because we didn't know that we got summoned yet. By the way, there was I met my friend Levi, one of my high school friends, and from Berean Academy, and so we and he does fencing. He's like a really good fencer. He goes around the nation basically becoming a champion. He wants to become an Olympian someday, and he is and he does sword fighting and great sword long sword fighting and also fencing, and it was cool to see him. But there was this guy, and he's important to the story, but there's this guy who came over to us just randomly. Like, we were stepping off to the side for a break, like just because we were walking around in our armor all day, and we were just talking together, just off to the side. And
we had been waiting for the live combat to start up.
Right, yeah, because they were taking a break as well.
Yeah, and
Society for Creative Anachronism.
But I had like stepped away, and I was like, okay, well, while we're waiting for that to start, let's go look at this tent over here. And I turned around, and all of a sudden, you guys are gone.
Yeah. So yeah. We left Zane without us really knowing. I don't think any of us knew that. We just ditched you.
Well, you didn't realize because that guy walked up, and I hadn't seen him.
Yeah. And then there's this. Okay, so there's this drunk guy who's a Native American, and he had a whole bottle of wine that was half empty.
How did you know he was Native American?
Just by his skin color. He looked very Native American, like pure blood. And like his hair was like long, and he looked like and his clothing was actually his clothing was pretty basic, but he
so there's in the park where they're at. In the park where they're at, every now and again you'll have homeless people that go there and they live there, and sometimes they fish. I don't know. But
Gotcha.
I have a feeling he was probably a homeless guy who probably just because they don't really have heavy security there.
Well, he was hanging out. Well, the thing is that he was hanging out by a stand, where jewelry was being sold and stuff. And I don't know if he was in charge of it, but he was like hanging out with someone and talking with that guy a lot. But anyways, he came over to us because we were close to that stand, and he came up to us, super drunk. Completely wasted, came up to us and pointed at us, and he was like, "I was knighted by the queen," and he just looked at us while saying that very slurred speech. He literally drunk walk up to us like it was like he was playing like a joke, but he was actually like wasted. And then it was out of nowhere. I just couldn't help but laugh a little bit.
He said, "I've been knighted by your queen."
By your queen, yes, because we were all in knight's gear.
And thought we were English.
Yeah, and so I just busted out laughing because I couldn't help it because it just came out of left field. Of all the things a drunk man to say, that was like the last on my list. I did not expect him to say anything like that, and so he came up to us and he said that, and and I just laughed, and then he looked at me, got like really angry. He's like, "Why do you laugh? Why? What? Am I funny, man? Why do you laugh?" And he in very slurred speech, and basically I was like, and all of a sudden I just laughter gone. I'm like, oh crap, I'm in trouble. And I just look at him like, no, I was laughing because I just wasn't expecting it. And I'm trying to be somewhat reasonable, and which you can't be with. Which you cannot be a drunk guy. You cannot be reasonable with that. And so he came over, and then after that, Weston was like getting really uncomfortable. All of us were, and Weston was like, we need to go somewhere, guys. And I'm like, I know, Weston. And so basically he was like talking about how if I laughed at him because he was knighted, and if the queen was here, I would be put to death or something, because I would be the first to die because I laughed at him when he was knighted by our queen or something. Yeah. And then so after that, I was like, we somehow and then Zane, he was walking up behind him because he noticed something was happening, and he was like getting ready to hit him on the head or move him away or push him aside or something if something happened. But then
he's like doing this in your faces. I'm like, uh-oh.
He's like, what's happening? And then and then
pointing at him.
Yeah, and then we just ended up Weston was like, let's get out here. I'm like, yes, I agree. And so we just left. And then he just probably just was confused and then walked away. He didn't really pay any attention to us.
Like, I'm sure this dude, when he's not drunk, he's a reasonable person, but I'm not afraid of this guy. I'm more or less afraid of hurting this dude because I'm wearing some goggles.
Because, by the way, we're all of us have our helmets on with our swords and gear, looking at this man who's like almost halfway threatening us. So he's
short little pudgy guy.
Yeah, and he's very short. Yeah, he's like the short little pudgy guy. It's like, I feel bad if I do anything to this man if he lashes out at us.
Yeah, but you got to be careful. A lot of times those guys,
they're unpredictable.
They are.
Yeah, they.
That's why I wanted.
All the time. He could pull a knife and just real
exactly.
quick.
Exactly. That's why I don't want to. That's why we didn't want to hang out any longer than what we did. So what happened was we left, and then we went over because they started fighting, the sword fights, and so we just hung out there. My friend Levi was there. We just talked about it. I was talking about my new interaction with my drunk friend, and so the drunk Native American, and so we were hanging out just like, man, that was a weird interaction. And then we watched the fighting, which was really cool, because there's a guy in full out samurai armor, and he was using his katana skills versus someone with like a sword and shield, and the katana guy is actually very, very, very skilled, and he actually made that armor himself, by the way, and he actually destroyed this other guy. And it was really cool. They had some really good fights going on. And then after that, we were like, we apparently we were summoned by the king and queen, and we were like, oh.
But here, Weston, tell us how that happened.
Yeah, because I don't actually know this.
Let me give you a quick video here, real quick, of give people an idea of what this is like.
All right, sweet.
While you're doing that, I'm going to explain.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, you took a video. So yeah, there's like a lot of so they had like a ref there, and they would go against each other.
Yeah, you had guys in full chainmail with armor.
Yeah, I think this guy's using like a glaive. The other guy's using like 2 swords for some reason.
Yeah, unfortunately, these guys kept deciding, I'm going to stand right in front of this corner, which is where I was sitting. Which
okay. Oh no, he has a shield. All right.
Kept getting in front of me too, and just standing right in front of me. And I'm like, dude, I just want to say, could you please walk off somewhere else?
Yeah,
right, that's just
there was, but yeah, also those sticks that they had were. I asked them if they're like foam or if there was padding around it. But my friend, he was like, no, those are actually like hard wooden sticks that they hit each other with. Like it hurts, it bruises you.
Similar to bamboo.
Yeah, similar to bamboo, and he's like, they're very solid. But anyways,
So-
Weston, how were we exactly summoned? Because I don't know this. I just followed the group and I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Me being a partially blind man in that gear, you guys lost me, and I was walking
Yeah.
alone. Then
We
I
got
saw
separated from you right before you guys met the drunk man. We got like behind you guys somehow.
Right, but this is after that fact there. So you guys are, I know where you guys are going, but I totally lost you guys because you ran off without me over to the sword dueling area. As
Yeah.
I'm walking along, I feel something knock against the back of my helmet, and I look around, nothing's behind me, and I'm like, oh, hardy har, this guy's, making fun of my vision. So I turn around, of course, there he is in front of me. I'm like, all right, what's this guy want? Oh, it's the prince. And he goes, he's like, have you met the royal family yet? You and your group? And I was like, I don't believe we have. No.
Oh,
He's
that's
like,
so
where
cool.
is the rest of your group? And I was like, they are over watching the armored combat duels. And he's like, all right, you are hereby summoned to go and meet the king and queen. I was like, I shall inform the Black Knight then. And that's when I came over to Zane, tapped him on the shoulder, and whispered in his ear. I was like, bro, we just got summoned by the royalty here.
That's
What
awesome.
did you say, Zane?
I think
I
I
was
said
joking.
I thought you were telling the truth, but I was more just confused why I was like, what does the royalty want to see us for? I mean, like, we're just
Yeah, we
guests
just had a
walking
weird
around.
interaction with a drunk man, and now we're getting summoned by the king and queen. This is weird.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I'm actually going to die somehow in this
Plus,
scenario.
I didn't expect just to, like, all of a sudden have a guy be like, you are summoned to come see the royalty. It was just, I don't know, it was weird. So we're like, okay, I guess we don't want to turn down the royalty.
Imagine we just turn them down. Oh my goodness, that'd be awful.
No, and then I was like,
No.
okay, I
No,
guess
thank
Weston.
you. We're not part of your strange cult.
We have our own.
No, and then I was like, okay, I guess Weston
We have
lead us
our own.
over there. And then Weston, you were like, no, you have to do it. And then everyone was like, yeah, Zane, you speak for us. You represent us. I'm like, why me?
Yes, but Zane, yeah. So we walked up to the tent, and then we entered, and it was
Well,
really.
okay, so we didn't walk up. So they have the
Oh yeah, there's a guard
royalty
there.
tent. Yeah, they have the royalty tent and all that. It's actually also where like the staff of the fair is and whatnot. So they actually have like a knight posted as a guard, not to just let anyone back there.
Yep.
And
Because
as we
the drunk guy tried to follow us again.
Yeah, we tried walking up, and the drunk guy had found us again. And he was like trying to follow us in.
Yeah, but
He's like, brothers, and I'm
yeah,
like,
Weston.
brother.
yeah. That's some of the knights there, who's guarding. But yeah, Weston. I asked Weston. I was like, oh no, the drunk guy's here. And then the guard was like, sir, you have to wait your turn. Come back here. And then the drunk. And then I hear the drunk guy. He's just go, oh okay. And then he goes back outside. And then Weston was like, I was like, what was he saying? And Weston was like, he kept on calling us brothers. And I'm like, weird. And so
He wanted to kill us a minute ago. Now we're his brothers.
I know. It was like, wow, that is a character arc.
Well, the guard was like, "Hey, they've been asked to come in here. You haven't. Leave them alone." And the
Right.
guy was like, "Oh." He actually like backed down, like the dude actually had authority and wasn't just another actor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he's carrying a big pole arm and he's in full armor. You listen to a man who tells you what to do.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then, if you don't mind, I take over the story.
Yes, go for it. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it. I've been
So
talking.
we arrived, and there was like some other people, and they were meeting with some of the people of the court before us, and so we're like waiting in line, and then one of the musketeers comes walking over to us and asks what we are, and we're like, we were summoned by the prince. He's like, oh yes, you guys, follow me, and then he takes us further back into the actual court area because they had like a little throne tent outside for like meeting with people.
Yeah.
And then
Interject.
Yeah.
So they had like the actor king and queen that would meet like little kids off on the side, like where the seating area is.
Right.
But then they had the actual, I don't know, how do you describe it? So the actual king and queen
are also the event organizers.
The event organizers are different from like the actor king and queen. So we're meeting the actual people instead of just the actors.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Pretty much, yeah.
Anyway, so
yeah,
we get taken back further into this tent that's actually been set up like a king's court. There's like thrones and whatnot. There's carpets laid out on the floor, and So we're sat down in there, and we're like standing in there, and we're waiting, and all of a sudden the prince comes flying in, and his lady comes in with him. That's the queen.
Yes, that's the queen. You can see the carpet on like the floor and everything. The prince is in the back of that picture, wearing the black
but
and
anyway,
green.
so the prince comes in, and he's like asking us who we are, where we came from, what our group is, and whatnot. And since I've been voted our apparent leader, I stood up and I started talking with him, and he was like full on role playing, like he is the prince of the land and whatnot. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll step up. So then I started going along with it, acting like a knight and trying to speak as like an old English sort of style and whatnot.
Yeah, like you went into the role play. You're like, all right, it's my time to shine with my old English talk. Ye old English. So.
Yeah.
Zane, the reason why we chose you though is because nobody did it better than you.
True,
So,
actually, you actually killed it.
Dude, you hammed it up just as good as he did.
Yeah, honestly, true. I did. Like if I was there, I would have done so bad. I would have just froze and just talked like a normal human, whereas you would actually like go full into the role play and part, and you actually know history more, like a lot more, and you actually know what to say and everything. Really cool.
Yeah. Anyway,
so do you remember what you were talking about at all with your speech?
He asked us how we got in there, and looking back now, I think he was asking us if we had like gone through the main gate, and I'm like, nah, because I thought I was in the role play mode, right? So I was thinking like, how did we get into the country? And I'm like, we got lost and we wandered in on accident.
I didn't catch that.
And he was like, how did you do this? And I'm like, well, our navigator who was reading the map is unfortunately dyslexic. And,
yeah, which he pointed at me, and then because earlier that day I was talking about how I don't know my left from my right. It's very difficult for me to tell just out of like a certain situation. Yeah, I know exactly, Seth.
Well, here's the thing: I actually wasn't gesturing at anybody. I had just kind of like done this, like over to like you guys.
And I am like right beside him.
You, Weston, and Ben Lafine all were like. All three of you were like, why did you pick me out?
It's so funny.
Sounds like y'all are dyslexic.
I accidentally accused like 3 of our group of being terrible navigators.
Yeah. Well, I am actually.
Yeah, true. Same.
Anyways, yeah, so then he like asked us questions, and then after a while, he invited us to actually like stay and talk in the tent, and the king and queen. The king had come out, but the queen was like feeling bad. I guess she was like overheating or whatnot, so she was like
probably
sitting
overheated.
in one of the tents and whatnot, trying to cool down.
Yeah, here's Zane's little scene speaking to them.
Yeah, there's all of us standing there and Zane talking. It was awesome.
Those are some friends.
Ben, by the way, I just gotta say this right now, Ben. You looked great, like with the hoodie and the green tunic and all that.
Yes.
It actually matched pretty well.
It
and
did.
The fact that you were carrying the holy hand grenade for us was also awesome, dude. So thanks for doing that.
It was great.
The only thing is Zane's wearing modern day sunglasses. But he has really light sensitive eyes, so
yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
I wonder if you guys can hear any of the audio.
No, we can't. That's okay.
It's all right. It's not a big deal. So as you were saying, Zane.
And where was I? Oh yeah. So then the guy asked us if we could stick around to like see the queen and whatnot, and so we were like, yeah, I guess we can do that. So we went. I think we stepped to the side and we were talking or something, and then the queen finally she came out, and then we went back in with the king and queen, and we talked with them for a while, and we actually started having some like really cool conversation of them just
about like history and how Templars were and just how brutal the Crusaders could be and stuff. It was awesome.
Yeah, the king was this really cool short little guy. Here's the picture of the royal court. The king's hanging out there.
The king actually looks like a legit king. Oh, yes, the picture. The king's the guy laying like that. So good.
He was awesome. What a chat.
Yeah. Anyway, so we
such a good picture.
We got invited to actually like join them in the final procession and to like escort the prince to the final tournament of
Twice.
the day.
Twice.
Yeah.
Why?
We got the job of escorting the prince to the final tournament. So the prince comes walking out, followed by, what were there, 7 of us?
Yes. I believe.
Yeah, 7 of us in all. So yeah, so he's like being followed now by this entourage of 7 knights. So they had 2 guys that actually had like full armor and whatnot with their group. Everyone else was just regular, sort of like medieval clothing and whatnot. So they went from having 2 dudes to 9. And it actually, the other guy was they were really happy because they'd been out there like since that morning. They were overheating and they needed a break. So they're like, thank you for taking the prince to do this. So they like went back in the tent and just had water like dumping on their heads and whatnot. So we came walking out and we were like standing in a like semicircle around the prince while he observed the final tournament for the day. So that was kind of cool.
Yes.
Then when we
the
came
final
back-
joust. It was great.
Yeah, the final joust. We came back and the queen had finally recovered, so she came out and we met and whatnot, and that's when they invited us to like join the final procession of the day and like end the thing. So we had only planned to be there a few hours. We ended up staying till the very end.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
gave you guys, they invited you into the refreshments tent, and they gave them water
True,
and
yeah.
snacks. And
Yeah.
It was nice.
After we escorted them, they were like, here, come into the tent, where all like the snacks and water is and everything, and it was great. They were super, super nice people. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
awesome.
Great.
you guys went from being going to the Renaissance Festival to being part of the Renaissance Festival.
Basically, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And then they were like, they were like, do you want to escort me to the joust and also stay along with the for the final parade for the closing ceremony? And then we were all thinking and we're like, sure, why not? And so and so we escorted him to the joust, like Zane said, and then now we went and getting ready for. We went to the back to the tent, and that's where the queen came to us and showed us for like the inside of like this one tent that was really cool.
Yeah,
Zane,
so-
you want to talk about that?
The queen is a part. She's a member of the modern day Templar Order. It's not the same as the original because the original got wiped out, of course. But people came together and like remade it, and she's a part of that. So she had this tent made by them in France that they had like a I guess not a royal signet, but like a signet of their knighthood that was
Right.
placed and embedded into like the main pylon of the tent, and whatnot. They given to her. The tent was so well made; it actually had withstood a tornado at one point, while everything else
Category
was
3
leveled.
tornado.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't see it. It's just too bright.
Yeah, but that's like all of us looking into it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that was cool to be able to like get to see that and whatnot, because that's something that normally nobody gets to see because that's like back in the employee area.
There you go.
But
Yeah, that's the tent.
yeah. So
Yeah.
then we
Super cool.
we got to become the escorts for the organizers who are the nobility and the whatnot.
Yeah, the king
And
and
they're-
queen and aka the organizers. Yeah.
Yeah. I had wanted to go back and buy a new leather pouch because my old one's gotten old. But because of that, I didn't get away to go buy it.
Rip. But it's okay. I mean, it's such a cool experience. So basically, they were getting the final parade ready, and we were in lines of 2, right?
Yeah, we were in rows of 2 behind them.
Yeah, rows of 2 behind him. Oh, here's a great picture. Perfect in video. Awesome. Yeah, that's all of us walking with the flag. And the king and queen are in front of us. It was awesome. And so we were walking through the whole town. People were coming up to us, taking pictures while we were walking. It was really awesome. And then we actually, this is the part that I didn't know happened. Didn't know. I thought we were gonna just like leave as soon as we exited, and that was it. But what they do is that they actually make a circle around with everyone and start, and the band players are there, and they start doing instruments and doing
Yeah, they had a dance. and
they had
whatnot.
like a dance with people, and not too many people
Circle of
danced,
friendship,
but
I think they called it.
yeah, something like that. And basically it was really cool because I wasn't expecting anything more besides us going through everything and leaving, but it was actually like they had this whole ceremony thing. And they gave like speeches and songs, and it was all really fun. It was awesome.
as fun as that was, I would definitely say if you want to stay for longer hours, don't wear plate, wear chainmail.
Yes. And don't bring a giant greatsword.
Yeah, unless you can actually put it on your back.
Yeah, my bicep hurt so bad by the end of the day. My right arm was massive compared to my left arm. It was ridiculous from carrying that sword. And my shoulder was super sore from like carrying it on my shoulder. But it was like, man, it was crazy. But it was good. Like I had so much fun there. It was awesome. It was really cool. Also, they also were talking to us about how they'd love to see us again.
They
in the
They
fall.
told us they want us back for the fall.
Yeah, and they'll remember us, and we can be a part of their group a little bit again if we wanted to.
So I have their card with the contact information. I thought about calling them as the time gets closer, saying, "Hey, we have this group. We all have our armor and everything. Could we work something out where maybe we could have guys kind of come in like rotation, one day, and if that's fact, can our guys just get in free and be part of the entourage for that amount of time?" So, I was going to try call and see if we could work a deal where maybe 4 of you would hang out at a time, and then maybe the others, maybe after they're done, then you guys could wander around and look at stuff.
Right.
Have some, and then maybe the next team would come in. I don't know if you guys would be willing to do that or not, but
Okay.
Well, you can talk about that as it gets closer.
Yeah, we can talk about it. But anyways, yeah, basically super cool experience. Probably the most interesting Renaissance fair or fair period I've been to. So, yeah, it
Hope
was
we don't
really
have to
cool.
meet another drunk guy like that. personally,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, thank you, Weston. I almost forgot. This is the final touching piece. So after the Renaissance fair, the day after, this is why it was important to mention my friend Levi. So my friend Levi, as I said earlier, is a person who does a lot of sword fighting. His sensei, his teacher, who teaches him how to sword fight, talked to me about how at the end of the show, there was a drunk guy yelling and everything at the fake king and queen, and was being really upset. And his sensei had to choke slam the drunk guy into the ground because he was threatening him. And then he showed, because yesterday, and I asked him if it was like a Native American, and he was like, he thinks so. And he showed me yesterday, actually, he showed me the video of his sensei like choke slamming this guy. And it was the exact same Indian guy that was harassing me all day. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, the odds.
That is crazy. I feel sorry for this guy. I'm like, what are
Me
you doing,
too.
man? What are you doing?
I know.
He's probably homeless, guys, and he went over to that where they sold the wine. Probably, had an
Maybe.
ID or something on, was able to get the wine, and then got drunk because it's what he does.
Maybe, I don't know. But
He didn't seem homeless to me. He just seems like the guy
he just seemed wasted because it seemed like he had a friend there that he was talking to. But anyways, at the end of the day, he got choke slammed by my friend's sensei. I think that's hilarious. Because I'm like, what are the absolute odds that something like that would happen? It's just like such an eventful day. It was wild.
And honestly, but I think at the end of the day, though, we can admit that this was all in great fun.
Oh yes, of course.
We didn't let this drunk guy ruin our time there. We had a great time, and I was happy that people could enjoy that. We were there as well, actually, because they loved the holy hand grenade and all that. So I was like, that was neat.
It was
I was
great.
happy to help out the king too, since the guy, his people were on a sabbatical since it was too hot for them, and yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
I think the experience was great, guys.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it was awesome.
Yeah,
So
they were
the
very
rest of y'all-
concerned, making sure that everybody got plenty of water.
Yes, they were. They were looking
I
out
like
for
I like
us.
how when they were offering us snacks, all you guys were just like standing there. It's like no one wanted to do it until I was like, I'll take a Pop-Tart.
Well, the food might have been poison, Zane. We had to be sure.
Your Templar.
So we let our leader eat it first.
So like the moment I was like, I'll take a Pop-Tart, then all you guys came in to like get stuff.
Oh man. All right. Well, I think that's going to be the end of this podcast episode. Thank you. For, anyone else have anything?
Deus Vult.
Yes, we'll end it with Deus Vult. So yes. I guess we can do a closing prayer first, and then we can do that. All right.
I do want to show this.
Okay.
Zach got me this for my birthday.
Yes. It has like the Star of Daniel on it and everything.
Star David, yeah.
Star David, sorry.
So
Daniel.
I would say next time I go, I'm going to have this as my. I'm gonna attach this to my belt somehow. I need like a little sword frog to hold it or something to hold it.
Yeah, there you go.
But I don't know. We need a friar. I think I'm going to since I'm kind of like the I want to say religious leader sort of guy of the group. Maybe I ought to. I know Seth has his too. So Seth, maybe we could be the Father Maynard and acolyte.
Just make sure I don't talk to my brother beforehand, because if I do, I'm going to be mad and not go.
Oh, no worries, man.
No worries, dude.
Man.
It's all good.
Yeah.
All right.
We
Well, I'm
understand.
gonna go ahead and start in closing prayer real quick. All right. Dear Holy Father, thank you so much for this awesome podcast that has just gifted you and also just all of us. I think it's just has been a great blessing that we're able to do this. And just thank you so much, Lord, for the Renaissance Fair and the cool experiences that we've got been able to have, and also just the Passover event and how it all went smoothly and went well. And just thank you, Lord, for your great, awesome power and your son, Jesus, and all that you have done for us, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Awesome.
And I hope to see you guys on Sunday.
All right, on three.
Deus Vult!
On
Deus
three.
Vult! Yeah, that's
Deus Vult.
hold on, boys!
1, 2, 3. Deus
Deus
Vult.
Vult! You guys
There we go.
suck! Ah!
It's okay. It's okay.
That's